WrestleMania 41 was not a universally loved show. In fact, some people were so mad at it, they were left with sadness and confusion. I think it's important to remind ourselves of that women's three-way on night 2. It was one of the best opening matches of all time. So these days, what does WWE likely want us to remove from our brains as we do march forward? Well, we're gonna find out. Number 10, no Bayley. This could still be a very smart work, as they say. We need to be careful, like we're hunting cattle. I am saying these words in around June 2025, though, and so far Bayley has not returned to WWE TV. She was written off at WrestleMania 41 just before her tag team title match, and yeah, we found out this was all because of Becky Lynch. Of course, that means eventually Bayley will return and kick Becky's ass, and that feud is gonna rule. Two proper pioneers when it comes to the WWE Women's Division. You give them time and allow them to really sell the idea, it could be a proper all-timer. It still saw Bayley lose her Mania spot, however, and yeah, fans didn't like that, especially because the role model went on the Chris Van Vliet show around the same time and said all of this sucked. Again though, she's not dumb. She probably knew when this was going to be released. Either way though, I really hope going forward we do start using Bales in the correct way, because she is very underutilized. She's been pivotal so much to WWE over the years, and it does feel like sometimes they forget that. So going back to the Chris Van Vliet interview, if she is a little bit annoyed, I totally get it. When all is said and done, she would have also left the company in a better place. Bayley is one of the good ones. Number 9, the one-day women's tag champs. So listen, my friends, my buddies, my pals, I don't agree with this one at all. Sometimes it does come down to committee, but I thought this was a better part of WrestleMania 41. The mob has spoken though. Sorry, man. As it was Becky who took Bayley's place though, Lynch and Lyra Valkyria won the women's tag team titles before losing them back to Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan 24 hours later on Raw. What we really should be forgetting is that Morgan and Raquel haven't defended those titles for ages afterwards. That's a different video. It kicked off the Becky-Lyra feud though, which really helped Valkyria, and it elevated the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So yeah, I'll be honest with you, I was fine with it. At least it gave us a moment, and the reception to Becky's comeback was really fun to be part of. I just think the greater majority wanted this here because Becky and Lyra lost clean. But good, I say. Ever since Mania 41, WWE has gone mad with interferences and disqualifications. Give me a nice 1, 2, 3 any day of the week. So I'm not on board, but the opinion is out there, and of course you can see it. Why on earth we did all these shenanigans within such a small period? I suppose really when you break it down, you can't please everybody. It would be nice if sometimes we as wrestling fans remembered that. Number 8, Rey Fénix lost, and didn't really recover after. Just look at the different trajectories of Fénix and Penta, it's totally different. It was all crazy anyway because Fénix was only drafted in last minute to face El Grande Americano when Rey Mysterio went down injured. Usually in these scenarios, the new guy will win, especially if they're a babyface. Nope, he got head-butted with a metal plate and was done. What made it worse was that for all intents and purposes, El Grande is a comedy character, but they were also on separate brands. That meant Fénix never got any type of revenge, and if the plan was for Rey to get that when he came back, well, he didn't for ages. His injury was really bad. Fénix didn't do much after this either, or at least didn't go on some sort of winning run, so yes, this felt like the momentum was just stopped for no reason. I'm not sure it was the best idea, unless you do want to look at the human side. I bet Fénix himself is over the moon that he got to perform at the grandest stage of them all. That is important, he does have feelings. Number 7, the Jey Uso reaction. I thought this was ridiculous. Jey Uso going all the way to the World Heavyweight Championship was the best thing about new WWE, because finally we were doing it again. You can get over from nowhere and see it followed up. 2 words, Rusev Day. Still mad about it. For whatever reason, a portion of the fan base decided this was awful, however, and man did they go nuts. They couldn't believe that Jey had tapped Gunther out too, even though that was the story. The ring general had tried to murder Jimmy with the choke, so now the brother was getting revenge. No issues with me. I loved it. As we shall talk about later, it was the first crack in the armor, because beforehand, WWE had been riding a pretty much total wave of positivity. Everybody was kinda happy with the general direction, and then boom, they had something to moan about again. I still think it would have been so much worse to have ignored all this. You always want and need new stars, so thank goodness we tried something new. Uso did just get more and more over after this, by the way. That's nice and simple. The win gave the audience reason to trust and believe in the process. The fact that we do have to talk about this, however, Well, exactly. Number 6, the Stone Cold Crash. Yeah, this was not great. I mean, go and listen to Steve Austin talk about it on the Ariel Helwani show. He knew too, you do not want to do this at WrestleMania. I didn't like any of it, to be honest, because I don't think Stone Cold should be used to read out attendance figures. I'm sure I'm being precious, but Austin has always been so good at choosing his spots. This wasn't for me. You want Steve to hit some stunners and then leave at the very least. Before he did throw us some numbers, however, the rattlesnake did arrive on an ATV, and while doing laps of the ring, crashed into a barricade, taking a member of the front row out at the same time. WWE President Nick Khan flew over to make sure they were okay, as did Austin. That's when you know they're panicking. To be fair, Stone Cold seemed very embarrassed about the situation, and hopefully the person in question got some freebies and make goods. The bare minimum somebody could do. Imagine how expensive those seats were. So of course WWE doesn't want you to remember this. The Stone Cold entrance is meant to be an all-time moment, not a teeny tiny but sort of big accident. Number 5, the crazy ticket prices. As ever, we do have to talk about worth. This is not a WWE problem, it's a modern day problem. The live event in general currently costs a fortune, but if an act charges a high price and the fans pay it, the next time the money will increase. That's just how it works. If somebody deems $2,000 as a worthwhile purchase, then fine. That's not for me, but who am I to judge? You're allowed to spend your money however you see fit. At the same time, as an audience member, getting to WrestleMania 41 came at a huge premium no matter where you sat, and many fans felt priced out of going. That always sucks. You always want these things to be as accessible as possible. WWE went too high at first as well, because after some media backlash, prices were reduced, but the overall gain was at such a level, the company announced it was the greatest grossing event they'd ever done. That's the real reason they likely want to return to WrestleMania 42. TKO wants to make that cash. So it really does feel like all entertainment mediums are going to have to experience a full-on fan revolt before this switches for good. Sadly, I can't see it happening, but let's face it. It's not fun now, is it? Number 4, the Cody Rhodes hesitation. I think WWE will pay this off, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Cody Rhodes even said this after he returned to WWE. Next time he faces John Cena, he will not make this hesitation mistake again. He was also referring to the fact he had the world title in his hands at WrestleMania 41, and he did not smash John on the head, which meant Cena did it to him and won. Don't think anybody would have minded really, but when Travis Scott turned up without The Rock, which yes we will talk about, and we realized that's how the American Nightmare lost his title after 378 days, well, a big portion of the fan base did not accept it. It was certainly strange for sure, but if we do get to SummerSlam and Rhodes wins by leading into it, maybe it's a little bit better in hindsight. Same time, maybe I'm being too nice. There was a very angry reaction though. The crowd just didn't think this was the way it should be. Some people even called it the worst WrestleMania main event of all time. You're allowed your opinion, of course, but you cannot have watched the entire library of those things. That is not true at all. There are some proper doozies. Number 3, The Rock wasn't there, which ties in. Had the final boss arrived after Travis Scott, the reaction would have been totally different. That's where the core thought was. It was Dwayne Johnson who had convinced John Cena to turn heel, and therefore he needed to be at Mania to stop Cody and help Cena ruin wrestling. It did not happen. The Rock did some sort of damage control as he went on the Pat McAfee show to explain himself, and you could tell he may have been irked by the feedback. We also don't know the deal either. Who did make this call? Sort of felt like some major Hollywood deal fell into Johnson's lap, and look, I can understand that. I get it, that's always the risk, but still, anybody writing this story beforehand would have had The Rock there at the end of the night endorsing his chosen champion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and scour the internet and you will see what fans were enraged about. This isn't what WWE wanted, and sort of sums it up. Expectations are important, and everybody needs to keep that in mind. Number 2, Travis Scott was there. We touched on this, but it needs its own shout out because the back-to-back madness didn't work. Because I get Travis Scott walking out to help his new friend. It's bizarre that this was never explained in a promo, but again, if The Rock had just followed him at WrestleMania 41, nobody would have been baffled. This was the scene we had seen at the Elimination Chamber. We were just closing the book. Instead, Scott got a huge reaction because this Vegas crowd assumed it was Rocky when he took 78 years to get to the ring and eventually got knocked out by Cody. This wasn't executed that well. It also meant the crowd was on tenterhooks waiting for the next set of music to hit. But nope, we've talked about it. The confusion we got was huge. Why is Travis here but not the final boss? That doesn't make any sense, and his 2 + 2 = potato. I would go one step further too and say Scott then not being a Backlash was the bigger faux pas, because why did he only want to help his buddy at WrestleMania? If I was Randy Orton, I would have taken that as a slight. he couldn't even be bothered to come. Number 1, all the interviews. We spoke about the one with Mr. Johnson, and there were a lot of these before and after the pay-per-view too. Sort of felt like WWE was trying to control the message. This is, of course, because some fans did not like that ending. And remember when the other members of the Power Team also went on the McAfee show? There was a lot of yeah, but no, but yeah, but no. WWE also had to try and quieten the reaction to the roast of WrestleMania, which was not good. And there were the little things too. AJ Styles losing to Logan Paul, the Bayley chat, even Joe Hendry having the moment of a lifetime kicked off. I do not think WWE assumed this was going to happen this way. It really was such a stark contrast to the feelings after WrestleMania 40, and look where we were a few weeks later. Mania was cancelled in New Orleans and basically went back to Las Vegas, which confused people even more. So when you throw it all into a bucket, and for whatever reason, it sort of meant the end of WrestleMania was the first time after the new regime had taken control when the audience didn't massively like what they were doing. Yes, of course WWE doesn't want anyone to remember that. And it really is what you do after all of this. So let's check in next year, my friends, and see what the fallout was. Know of anything else that WWE would like you to forget about WrestleMania 41? Make sure you drop it in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. You can also click the video on the screen for yet more WWE trivia, but otherwise, my friends, I appreciate you and I love you, and I will talk to you again very soon.